Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing some tips and tricks for newcomers that are just getting into Borderlands 3. Now is the best time more than ever. There's a lot of content, there's a lot of things to do. So this is going to be like a newcomer's guide. As always, remember to subscribe to my channel if you like my content, and also make sure that you go follow me over on Twitch so you can see when I'm live streaming and playing this game and other games that I do play and I upload to YouTube as well. So without further ado, let's get straight into this newcomer's guide, and let's go! Okay, so for a newcomer that's entering into a long-running series, because Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, Borderlands the pre-sequel, and Borderlands, 3 now, it can be quite intimidating. In the years since Borderlands 2, which, if you're not familiar with these games, these type of games are looter-shooter games, kind of like Destiny and Division, etc. But it can be very intimidating to jump straight into this not knowing what to do or where to go or anything like that, and dying many times during the normal campaign and thinking, wow, people are playing on mayhem and I can't even get through the normal campaign. And that's okay, because we've all been there and we've all had that same thought run through our mind. This is going to be for new players and newcomers of the Borderlands game, specifically Borderlands 3. So that way it can help you get through the game peacefully and, a little bit more help, because there was times that I wish I had help. Okay, so first and foremost, my biggest tip is make sure you don't pick the wrong class for you the first time. There are going to be 4 characters that you can play as. Amara, which is a Siren, Fleck, which is a Beastmaster, Zane, which is an Operative, and Mosey, which is a Gunner. If you never played a Borderlands game before, then you want to choose a very accessible Vault Hunter to start with. And these are the Vault Hunters that you see up on the screen right now. Each of these Vault Hunters are going to be different from one another. Some may be a little bit harder to play, some may be easier to play when you pick it up. It's all about personal preference. Now, for me, Zane was the hardest to actually master and to pick up, so I don't really recommend choosing Zane first or right away. He's not really beginner friendly in my opinion. The cool thing about Zane, though, that can make him beginner friendly is you can use his drone and his clone, and that will help you a lot. So make sure you are utilizing his drone and his clone. And he also has shield regenerations, he also has health regenerations, stuff like that can actually help you if you are a new player. But to me, Zane was actually the hardest to actually get used to. Mosey's a little bit easier, and Flack is definitely easy in my opinion. I think Zane is more for kind of experienced players. So if this is your very first Borderlands game, you can try Zane out, because like I said, to each their own. Zane might be somebody that you absolutely love and wreak havoc with, and if you do, that's fantastic, because to me, I think he's a little bit harder to pick up, where Mosey and Flack are easier. I would say Flack is easier because he's got a companion. He's got a pet companion that he can take with him that can help him. So if you are like a solo player and you're not doing this with friends or anything like that, that pet can come in handy here and there. So that's why I kind of recommend Flack as well. But Zane is awesome. I don't ever recommend you staying away from Zane. If you think Zane is cool, you're like, hey, this sounds like me, this sounds like my game play, my game style, go ahead and choose him and try and play him. The cool thing about this is you can have multiple characters. So if you choose Zane and say you're having a hard time with Zane and it's not working out for you, you can try another character until you get used to the game and then switch back to Zane. That's the beauty of this game. So it's awesome. Also, another thing I want to mention with Flack as well, other than the AI pet companion that he has really good action skills that are pretty straightforward and easy to use. I should say, especially the fadeaway one. So his fadeaway and his AI pet companion, and the fact that he has action skills that are pretty straightforward. Like Zane, to me, Zane does not have action skills that are like really straightforward, in my opinion. They can kind of be confusing and not knowing what you're gonna do when you buy that said skill. So that's number one. Number two is, speaking of action skills, not using your action skills enough. This one may seem obvious, but I know that there are players, and I am notorious for being one of those players, who forget to use their action skill a lot. I always forget. I get caught up in the moment. I get caught up in the gunfight, and I'm just spraying my gun and spraying down the enemies, and before you know it, my shield's breaking, my health's going down, and it's like, you have action skills. Use them to your ability, because if you use them to your ability, it's gonna work wonders. So don't forget to use those action skills. They do have cooldowns, but there's action skills that you can choose in some of the skill trees that you can lower those cooldowns, if that makes sense. But just use them. Just remember to use them. It's not always just about the guns. Instead, it's about how you can utilize your skills around those guns that you are using. That powerful high damage shotgun that you might have found might be great, might be awesome. It might be ridiculously OP, aka overpowered, if you're using it with, say, like Flack's fadeaway skill, or you're using it with Zane's drone, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, the action skills play a vital role in this game. Alright, so the next one. Using the wrong elemental damage. I did not know this when I first started playing this game. I did not know elemental damage was as important as it is, especially as you progress further. When you're going through your first playthrough and you're playing through on normal, you don't really have to worry about it, but it's nice to get used to it. So when you want to up that, you want to play on Mayhem, you want to play on Vault Hunter mode, which is, more challenging and stuff like that, which you do have to make sure you beat the game first before you can even do that. You don't really have to worry or stress about it in normal mode, but it's nice to get used to it at the beginning. So elemental damage is very important. You may notice that certain enemies, they have colored health bars above their head. This is the game basically letting you know what type of elemental damage to use for this said enemy. So let's give an example here. For example, if you see a blue health bar, that's going to indicate a shield, which requires a shock weapon to do any good amount of damage. If you see a yellow bar, then you're going to need to switch to a corrosive weapon. And last but not least, if it is a red bar, which is basically just the enemy's flesh, well, most elements are going to work on that. Let's just put it that way, whether it's corrosive, whether it's shock, whether it's fire. But to be honest with you, fire tends to be the best one that works on just a red health bar, which means just flesh. So fire, if you want to do the most damage to them, fire would be the way to go that way. But you can kind of get away with any elemental damage on them. So just keep that in mind. Next, your weapons might be under leveled. Okay? Don't be like me and think, oh, you pick up an amazing sweet gun, right? At like the beginning of the game. You're like, oh, I freaking love this gun. This gun is awesome. It's amazing. If you're more than halfway through the story and you still have that weapon, you might want to think about upgrading your weapon. Just gonna throw that out there. Luckily, there is not level scaling, and it's not as ridiculous as it was in Borderlands 2 with that, but it does matter. Unfortunately, that awesome weapon that I was talking about, that I picked up at the beginning of the game, that I absolutely loved, I eventually had to swap out because it did become under level and it wasn't doing great damage. As much as I loved it, I had to do it. Unless it's like the highest level cap, of course, then yeah, it will be. But if it's not, you want to make note of your enemy levels and ensure that your weapons are within a decent range of those enemy levels. Trying to destroy enemies with a weapon that is going to be 10 levels below them, it's not going to do you any justice. It's not going to do you any good at all. The expectation, though, to this would probably be legendary weapons, which the reason why is because legendary weapons can last a lot longer in the game than other weapons can and that's due to their powerful stats. They have really powerful stats. So if you find a legendary early on and it's absolutely amazing, yeah, technically that can basically get you through to like the middle of the game. I guess depending on stats, right? I mean, I'd have to look at it and see. But legendaries are more powerful and they do tend to last a lot longer than your non-legendaries. Next up, not taking advantage of manufacturer traits. So each piece of gear is designed by a specific manufacturer. And this is kind of more of like a branding by various corporations that are within this Borderlands world. Each of these manufacturers puts its own traits on their weapons. So, for example, like Torque. Torque makes their weapons all have explosive capabilities or powers or whatever you want to call them. Then you have the more unique ones like Atlas, whose weapons have tracker bullets. So make sure you pay attention to the gun manufacturer, as they can add a whole new level, depth to the gun that you may not have ever realized. I know I didn't realize this when I first started playing the game. I had no clue that that was a thing, that it was based on the manufacturer, or aka company, whatever you want to call the one that makes the gun, right? So you got Jacobs, you got Atlas, you got Torque, etc. But just make sure you pay attention to that, because that's something that I never did, and I never even knew anything about it, to be honest, until after I put many hours into the game. Next, using the wrong weapon types for your build. So each character's class is proficient with every type of weapon, or a weapon type, I should say. That being said, you can spec your character to be much, much better with a certain gun type or manufacturer that is built specifically for that character. Not built specifically for that character, but it's good for that character. There is going to be a ridiculous amount of variations for each weapon, so you're going to want to ensure that the weapon you are using is one that suits the abilities that you've chosen with your character's build, because each build, like I said, it's going to require a different type of gun or manufacturer, etc. So I'll give an example here. So Flack's Gorillas in the Mist augment. That basically gives Flack's fadeaway skill an unlimited critical hit for 5 seconds. And because of this, using a shotgun with a slow fire rate isn't going to be your best action, of course, and giving you the best possibility that you can get with this build. Instead, you're going to want a gun that has a good magazine size, and it has a high fire rate, which is going to allow you to use that skill, Gorillas in the Mist. I'm saying that completely wrong. It's not gorillas, but that's what it looks like. But I butcher words, so it's okay. But anyways, it's going to allow you to use that skill, particularly for Flack, to its fullest. So kind of keep that in mind. I know it's hard. It is, but you can Google builds. I may be putting up builds of my own on here eventually. So yeah. But there are so many guns in this game. It's not even funny. I don't even know. Billion, million, who knows? There's so many weapons that you can choose from. Many of them probably will not suit your playstyle, and that is okay. You will find the ones that do suit your playstyle and the ones that you do like. Now, the next one, because this kind of ties into the next one. Not picking up most loot. Like I just said, there's so many weapons in Borderlands 3. And like I said, most of these weapons may not fit your playstyle. You may not like them. You may not like the fire rate. You may not like the elemental damage on it. You may not like something that has to do with this weapon, right? But that doesn't mean that you should not pick them up. Money in this game is key. It's very, very important. You're going to be using it a lot, especially at the beginning of the game, since you are going to need it to upgrade your ammo capacities from Marcus at Sanctuary. So you do want to make sure you are picking this up. If you don't like it, sell it. Get the money for it. It does not hurt to pick it up. You're going to want, ammo capacity, and you are going to want extra inventory space so you can pick up more things, so you can sell them, so you can buy more things. You know, you could very well hope that enemies drop the money, but the best way to obtain cash in Borderlands 3 is to simply sell the gear that you pick up and you loot. That's why this is a looter shooter. So pick up your gear, sell it, get the money. You'll thank me in the end. Trust me. I didn't do it either. There was a lot of times I looked at it and I was like, ew, I don't want that. That's gross. And even if it is gross and I don't like it, I still should pick it up and sell it. So let's move on to the next one. Not upgrading your skill points from your class mod. So class mods, they are great ways to get even more power out of your character and character build. You'll notice that the class mods, they come equipped with various passive traits. These traits are even better if you match them with the right skill tree. Excuse my phone, because it likes to yell at me when I don't read my messages. But anyways, back to the class mods. So the class mod traits are going to work hand in hand with your skill tree, with the right one that you have. So class mods are going to give you automatic skill points, or 2, in specific skills. Basically, it's going to be letting you have 7 out of 5 in one certain skill. That's amazing to have 7 out of 5, especially a skill that, say, you really, really like, and now you can have more than just the cap of 5, you can have 7 out of 5. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So class mods are definitely an important part of this game. Make sure you're looking at them. Make sure you're looking at what they do for your specific skills. Just do it, please. Keep an eye out for those class mods and make sure that it's something that you like to be putting into your skills to give you that boost. It's a beautiful thing. Next, don't try to be the jack of all trades, especially the first time you play. And the reason why I say this is because each and every class or character, however you want to look at it, has 3 skill trees, or 4 if you got the newest DLC, then you'll get that 4th skill tree. So it depends if you got the DLC or not, but that's a whole different story. So yes, you can get a 4th skill tree, but you do have to buy either the Season 2 pass or, and I say Season 2 pass, not the first Season pass, the Season 2 pass or the DLC separately. But anyways, we'll get into that another time. So there's no possible way to fully upgrade each one. So don't try to initially spec your character with all 3 trees. Each specific tree is designed to let you specialize your character. So, for example, like Amara's Brawl tree is designed for a more melee-focused player. If you try to put your points in various trees, you can miss out on some really good, awesome builds. Now, with this said, I really wouldn't worry about this your very first playthrough, your very first time going through it on normal, because more than likely you're probably going to respec anyways, because you're just kind of figuring out what you're doing, where you're going, what skills you like, etc. And another thing too, Google is a beautiful thing, or YouTube. There's plenty of YouTube videos that I absolutely love build-wise for like your favorite character. You could always look them up and see if that's your play style, see if that's something that you want to do. But just try to stick to one to make your life easier, if that makes sense. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to start using more than one when you get to like the end game builds and stuff like that. You can, but just try to focus on the stuff that you like in your play style first and kind of play around with it, and more than likely you're probably going to respect anyways. Alright, so the very last tip that I can give you guys: do not farm bosses before you reach level 50. Do not do this. Do not. I tried doing it. It was a mistake. You're going to be leveling up at a really good pace. Let's just put it that way. Leveling up in Borderlands is not super slow. It's not super fast, but it's not super slow either. You feel rewarded every time you level up, but yet you don't feel like, oh my gosh, that took me so long to get to that level. Ever. Like, you never feel like that. So basically what this means is you're going to be wasting your time farming bosses before you reach the level cap. Because weapons will eventually become outclassed, like I said previously in my other tip. If you're level 15 and you go back to farm a level 10 boss, you're basically only going to get level 10 loot, making it pointless. You don't want to do this. It's a big no-no. Don't worry about farming for better gear your first playthrough around. Beat the game, have fun, do, all the missions. Then when you hit level 50, then you can start worrying about farming. Level 50 is, I don't think that's not level cap currently. I think it's level 65 that's level cap currently. So you can get to level 65 and then start doing the farming. And the easiest way to get to level 65 is, beat the story, because that is going to have so many rewards in it for itself, because there's going to be so much potential and opportunities that open up after you beat the story and in-game content that you can do. That's going to be beautiful. So make sure you beat that. Beat the story. You can do side quests if you like. You can do DLCs. I don't recommend doing the DLCs before beating the story, because just don't. Do the story first and then do the DLCs. That's what I say. So, but don't worry about farming for better gear, because that's basically in-game stuff. So once you beat the game, then you could turn on Mayhem mode, which will bring on all the enemies, including the bosses. And they're going to be to your current level. So that's what you're going to want to do. Because until then, you cannot turn Mayhem mode on and you can't make them equal level to you. They're going to be low levels. Don't do it. Don't waste your time. Simply just save that for in-game content. But that is it. That is all the tips and tricks I can give you. If I learn any more, I'll definitely update this video. But thank you guys for watching, and as always, if you liked, make sure you subscribe to the channel or go follow me over on Twitch so you can view my live streams. I do greatly appreciate your time and effort with stopping by this channel, and until next time guys, Melt Mercenary, aka Lady Scorpion, out.